everybody. Good to see you. Welcome back to Kids Church. I'm Pastor Joel, and Ben has joined us again today because Ben is working on something that we're going to kind of talk about here a little bit later as we get a little further into today. Now, we're still doing our kids' questions, so kids, if you have a question about the Bible or about God, make sure your parents send it in to joel@rosewoodpark.ca so we can answer that. Now, today we have a question from Jasper, and he asked two really kind of cool questions. So we're going to hear the questions that Jasper has to ask.
How does God swim, and where did he come from?
Those are good questions, hey Ben?
Yeah.
Especially that swimming one. How does God swim? Well, Jasper, to be honest, I don't really know if God does a lot of swimming, but maybe I can help answer it with a bit of a joke because I kind of thought of what I think might be a funny joke. Let's see. So I think God probably should know how to swim, right? Because what would happen if his boat was holy? Okay, that was a pretty bad joke, I know.
No, it isn't.
Ben thinks it's funny. Ben's like my biggest fan when it comes to jokes. We like telling jokes together pretty often. But we're not going to do any more right now.
Okay.
But
I thought of a good joke.
But yeah, Jasper, I think that God, I don't know if God really needs to swim. I mean, or he does swim. In the Bible, we see that Jesus walks on water, so maybe that's the closest we get to see God swimming. But it's kind of a cool question. Now, your other question of where did God come from is a great question. You're almost done. Good job.
I'm taking it off.
Okay, keep going. Almost finish up, okay? So your question of where does God come from is a question people have been asking forever and ever and ever because people have a hard time understanding it. Now, the reason that we have a hard time understanding that is because around us, all we ever see is things that are created. Okay, so we see things like animals, plants, the world, and we see these as things that God created because God tells us about that in the Bible. He created you and me. The really cool thing is God also created us to be able to create things. So people create your clothes, people create houses, cars, art, music, and crafts. And Ben has just about finished his craft here, and he's going to show you what it is here right away. But we were created to create things, which is super, super cool. But because we are created to create things, it's hard for us to understand when something wasn't created. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you, Ben?
Yeah.
A little bit? Yeah. So Ben's still creating something here, and that's why I wanted to show you. He's using this yarn here to make something himself, to create something himself. And because we're used to being able to create certain things ourselves, or just seeing the things God created, we assume, well, where did God come from? God must have been created. But the really interesting thing and the really hard thing to understand is that in the Bible, it doesn't tell us that God was created by anything. It just tells us that God always was. And now that's a really hard thing for us to understand. So in the Bible, there's a few things it tells us. In the book of Revelation, it tells us this about God, that God was the first and the last. Okay, and then it also says that God was the beginning and the end. Then in other places of the Bible, it tells us that God is everlasting and God is forever. Now, those are words we say. What's that?
Everlasting Father.
Everlasting Father. So you've heard that saying before. Yeah, and those are sayings that we don't really understand here because nothing we know lasts forever. Nothing we know is everlasting. But God is completely different from us. God has no beginning. God has no end because he is the beginning and he is the end. So where did God come from? He kind of came from nowhere is the best way to put it because he just always was. Now, Ben just finished this thing here. This is a bracelet Ben made. See, he made a whole bunch more and he's having a ton of fun working on these bracelets lately, but he just created that. Now with this bracelet, the interesting thing is we could see where Ben began making it and we could see where he finished making it. But God is different. He has no beginning. He has no end. He just has always been. Now, that's, again, hard for us to understand, but it's okay for us to not be able to understand it because when we don't understand something, that allows us to trust and that allows us to have faith. And when we trust and have faith in the God who always was, who always is, and who always will be, that is an amazing thing to have, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that helps a little bit. I know when we don't understand things with our minds, it's really difficult, but that's okay. God gave us our minds to try and understand and try and get to know him and try and have faith in him. Now, speaking of not understanding, Ben's mom tried to show me how to make these bracelets, and I have no idea how to make them. They are really they look really complicated, but are they really hard, Ben?
No.
They're pretty easy? Okay, so
Well,
Ben's
for me.
gonna take some time here and he's gonna kind of show me how to make one of these. But you know, if you and your family want to try making one of these, in the description below this video, I'm gonna post a link to a place where you can find out how to make these really cool bracelets that Ben has been making. Because for a kid, this will be something really cool to keep you busy, and it's using something pretty simple like yarn,
Yeah, it's
toilet paper roll, and
yeah.
some popsicle sticks.
Yeah, it's knitting.
It's like knitting, yeah, you're right. All right, Ben, why don't you start another one here and you can show me how it's done.
I thought I would only do one.
You're just gonna do one? Okay, well we'll just look at these. Which one is your
well,
favorite? Which one of these is your favorite? Just wait, we should say bye to everybody, right?
Bye.
Bye everybody, thanks for joining us. Remember kids, if you have a question about God or the Bible, to get your parents to send a video of you asking that question to joel@rosewoodpark.ca. All right, buddy, which one of these is your favorite?
I think this one.
Oh, that dark blue one? I really like that one too. I think that's a little bit small for my wrist though.